whatever you like to do. These are the days of Elijah, declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteousness being restored. Trials and famine and darkness and sorrow, still we are a voice in the desert, crying, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, at the trumpet's call. So lift your voice and hear a jubilee. Out of Zion's hill, salvation comes. And these are the days of Ezekiel, the dry bones becoming as flesh. And these are the days of your servant David, rebuilding the temple of praise. And these are the days of the harvest. The fields are as white in the world, and we are the laborers in your vineyard, declaring the word of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, at the trumpet call. So lift your voice, hear a jubilee, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes. There's no one like Jehovah, 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 there's no one like Jehovah. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, at the trumpet's call. So lift your voice, hear a jubilee, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, at the trumpet's call. So lift your voice, hear a jubilee, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes. Make me broken so I can be healed, 'cause I'm so coward and now I can't feel. I want to run to you with heart wide open. Make me broken, make me empty so I can be filled, 'cause I'm still holding onto my will, and I'm depleted when you are with me. Make me empty. in the darkness, I know you hold me, make me lonely. Till you are my one desire, till you are my one true love, till you are my breath, my everything. Lord, please keep making me. Till you are my one desire, till you are my one true love, till you are my breath, my everything. Lord, please keep making. I know you'll keep making. Lord, please keep making. Your love, oh Lord, reaches to heaven. Your faithfulness stretches to the skies. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountain. Oh yeah. Your justice flows like the ocean's tide. And I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadow of your wings. Your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heavens. Your faithfulness stretches to the skies. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountain. Oh yeah. Your justice flows like the ocean's tide. And I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadow of your wings. I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadow of your wings. And I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadow of your wings. Your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heavens. Your faithfulness stretches to the sky.
Sing us If she gets a little Mustang, she'll be good. Yeah. They'll send you anything for free. I mean, but you gotta get a hold of the manufacturer. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're working.
Yep.
Is Neil okay?
No, he is okay.
No, there we go. That's the only one part. Ah, bingo, we got it.
Is Neil okay?
Yeah, he had something else to do today.
Okay, well, I just wondered, it listed him, so I was just checking.
Okay.
Where do you want to stand?
I don't care. Remember, I walk. She moves around. I move around. You better put everything out.
You want me to
I'll
get
move
the
around.
microphone?
Well, no, I'll just turn around.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I just gotta make sure I don't move too far in my cover thing. Yeah, there you go. Good. Hold on. We'll get this out of the way so I can move over here. Then I can move over here.
Okay,
There we go.
well, I got the wrong thing, May
All right. This is interactive today, but before we begin, I'd like us to pray. Yeah. And not a unison prayer. So what I'm going to do is I'll pray, and then I'm going to put you guys to work. So, you ready? Heavenly Father, bet you thought I was asleep. I'm not. Be with us right now. Lord, you know each and every person's heart in here. You know our fears, our pains, our trials. And yet you're faithful. You are there within the midst. We just have to rely on you. You give us the strength. May you receive the glory today. May you receive the praise. We thank you for what we go through. For it is in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you for your joy and the love you give us, and your grace and your blessings, so abundant. Thank you, thank you.
And for his strength. You're so right, Lord. For his love, his grace, and his strength. May we all lean on him.
And we are blessed.
Yes, we are. Father, we thank you. Amen. Problem with these gowns? They don't have pockets. I'm not trying to be obnoxious. My pocket is inside. All right. We're going to put you to work. Look at Daniel 6, please. First person get Daniel 6, raise your hand. Today, this is Courage Within the Pits. This is going to be an unusual story. Because I'm not going to talk to you as Daniel. I'm going to be another character today. When you get Daniel 6, please raise your hand.
We know you're a character, dear.
Yeah, amen on that. Every one of us are characters, or else God wouldn't have us. He made nothing but characters. And we're all imperfect, and that's the beauty of it all. So, Daniel 6, Old Testament.
Bingo.
All right, read Daniel 6 then.
6:1.
6:1.
Seemed good to Darius to appoint 120 satraps over the kingdom, that they should be in charge of the whole kingdom. And over them 3 commissioners, of whom Daniel was one, that these satraps be accountable to them, and that the king might not suffer loss. And this Daniel began distinguishing himself among the commissioners and satraps, because he possessed an extraordinary spirit, and the king planned to appoint him over the entire kingdom. Then the commissioners and satraps began trying to find a ground of accusation against Daniel in regard to the government affairs, but they could not find no ground of accusation or evidence of corruption, inasmuch as he was faithful, and no negligence or corruption was to be found in him. Then these men said, "We shall not find any group of accusation against this Daniel unless we find it against him with regard to the law of God." Then these commissioners and satraps came by agreement to the king and spoke to him as follows: "King Darius, live forever. All the commissioners of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps, the high officials and the governors have consulted together that the king should be established a statute and enforce an injunction that anyone who makes a petition to any god or man besides you, O king, for 30 days shall be cast into the lion's den. Now, O king, establish the injunction and sign the document so that it may not be charged according to the law of Medes and Persians, which may not be revoked." Therefore King Darius signed the document, that is the injunction. Now when Daniel knew that the document was signed, he entered his house. Now in the roof chamber he had windows open toward Jerusalem. And he continued kneeling on his knees 3 times a day, praying, giving thanks to God as he had been doing previously. Then these men came by agreement and found Daniel making petition and supplication before his God. Then they approached and spoke before the king and the king's injunction. "Did you not sign an injunction that any man who makes a petition to any god or man besides you, O king, for 30 days is to be cast into the lion's den?" The king answered and said, "The statement is true, according to the law of Medes and Persians, which may not be revoked." Then they answered and spoke before the king, "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Jerusalem, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the injunction which you signed, but keeps making his petition 3 times a day." Then as soon as the king heard this statement, he was deeply distressed, and he set his mind on delivering Daniel, and even until sunset kept exerting himself to rescue him. Then
Okay, stop that subject. Good. Now, if you haven't figured it out, I'm Darius. And I want to give it to you from the perspective of a king watching Daniel. First of all, Daniel was not a young man. Daniel was in his 80s. Okay? Most of you don't realize that. All right? He was an older gentleman. The other thing is Daniel was a captive Jew within my foreign country, with me as a foreign ruler. Now, as this gentleman has sat there and read, I had so many places that I had divided it up into 120, for lack of better terms, departments. And I had people in each of those departments report to 3 people, 3 presidents, whatever you want to call it, or co-presidents. Now, one of the things that happens is that Daniel was one of those presidents. Now, keep your Bibles, because we're still interactive here, okay? Now, Daniel did such a good job. One of the things that stood out to me was Daniel was honest. He was faithful. He worked hard at whatever task I gave him to do. He didn't sit there and do things for his own esteem. And if I could sit there and say anything to you first, was Daniel lowered himself and always put other people's needs ahead of himself. He thought of other people. He sat there and he was always honest. I appreciated that. You know how hard it is to be a king and have all these people around you, and you never know who's honest. You never know who's truly your friend, who's truly looking after your own interests or their own. And Daniel's character, his walk, I could see his walk with his God. That spoke more to me than what a lot of people were saying to me. I was watching him. I watched him often. So did others. They weren't watching with the same eyes that I was watching with. Now, if you go ahead and turn that slide, that's going to confirm to you right there. take the lowest seat in verse 4 and strive to please God and not others. Yeah. In one sense, when these gentlemen came to me, or these lack of gentlemen for a better term, came to me and said, let's make a decree. You know, I was really sort of, gotta admit, sort of made me feel pretty good, because they were sitting there saying, Darius, you're the king. We ought to worship you. No one should pray to anyone else or to their God for 30 days or ask for any wisdom but come to you. Now, you know, that spoke pretty highly to me. I was pretty, gotta admit it, made me feel good. Yeah, and I like that.
Big head.
Big head, that's right, big head. But what I did not realize is when they sat there and gave that to me, it was flattering me. And I felt good. They had hidden motives. And I didn't see them. I thought I was so smart. Was I wrong? Now, if you'll turn to that second slide. One of the things that also stood out in my mind as he was sitting there saying is that if you look at verse 10, Daniel was always grateful. He was always grateful to his God. He thanked him. Now, how many times do we thank God? Now, here's one of the things that also Daniel taught me, and it wasn't until a little bit later on in Daniel 6, is that he thanked him even in the midst of trouble. Because I'm getting ready to have to throw him to the lions, guys. And he even thanked him during that time. How many times when you're in trouble do you thank God? God doesn't change. Or are you not sure that he's going to actually help you? Are you not sure that he's actually with you? Daniel was. And it always spoke highly to me. He didn't just thank him a little bit. He thanked him 3 times. 3 times he prayed to him and opened a window up to Jerusalem. Now, if you sit there and you look at Philippians 4:6, someone pick up Philippians 4:6, please. That's in your New Testament. If you got it, read it.
Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God.
Do not be anxious about anything. Now, when I made that decree, you know, now that I look at it, Daniel could have come up to me and said, I don't think that was such a good idea. He didn't do that. Daniel could have come up and said, hey, we need to do another law to outbid that law. Even though those guys have tried to make it where there was nothing else that we could do. That law stood in effect. He didn't ask me to do that. He prayed. How many times when you're in a tough situation do you try to handle it yourself? Thinking that God can't do it. That God can't handle it. That spoke highly to me when Daniel didn't ask me to do that. When Daniel didn't try to find a way out of it. When Daniel didn't sit there and beg me. I was the one more worried about it than Daniel. Not him, but me. Can you imagine that? Now, you're going to find that out later on when you read in Daniel 6. Because, you know, the thing that happened is, like I said, it wasn't just me watching Daniel. But those guys that were jealous. Now, somebody look up Proverbs 14:30, okay? Because here's one of the things I didn't realize that I set up. When I said to these guys that I wanted Daniel to be the head of them, I didn't realize that I was getting people jealous. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
14:30.
Yes, ma'am.
A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot.
Ah, the old envy monster. And here's what happened. The other guys were jealous. They were jealous that I was going to make him the head honcho, or the second head honcho. And they were jealous. And they couldn't, and so they were really looking hard to find something wrong with Daniel. And they couldn't find anything wrong. He wasn't dishonest. He wasn't hanky-pankying around. He wasn't cheating on people or cheating with the taxes. He wasn't trying to get them to extort money from anybody. He was, the only weakness that they could see was Daniel's religion. That's amazing when you think about it. That was the only weakness. He prayed. He prayed and he believed in his living God. He was faithful. And what did Daniel do the moment he heard that decree come in? Now Daniel could have, think about this. Daniel could have sat there and said, oh, I won't pray for 30 days. This is a man who's 80 years old. He's been praying for, probably 60 years, 3 times a day. He had gotten into that habit. He had gotten into that intimate relationship with God. And he chose not to let us scare him away from that. He could have shut the window and prayed. None of us would have known. But instead, he opens up the window and he prays to God. Out in the open. He wasn't ashamed of God. How many times have we been ashamed of God? How many times have we gone somewhere to a restaurant and maybe not bowed our head down to pray? Or not witnessed to somebody? Daniel was a stronger man than I was. He went ahead and he prayed. And when he did, if you could go a little bit further,
Next one.
those guys, just start right there. That's a good one to stop at. Those guys come to tell me, the old tattletales. They couldn't wait to get him in trouble. But I want to show you something that Daniel did that a lot of us don't think about. Daniel could have, like I said, hide behind that, but he gave those guys the freedom to make a decision, the freedom to choose. Just like your living God gives you freedom to choose to serve him, to love him, to commit yourself to him, and to believe in him. Daniel didn't try to solve the problem by himself. He didn't think God was only going to help him part of the way. He was fully committed to God. Now, somebody look up 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. Daniel's been working a lot with me, teaching me some of this stuff, so he threw me out here. Anybody got it? Go ahead.
But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me.
That is something else that Daniel taught me. Being weak. That he was more powerful when he was weak. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm used to being independent. I'm used to having people do things for me. But being weak, being totally dependent upon God. And that's what he was. Go ahead and go to the next one, please, my good man. And Daniel showed reverence in that verse 10, and he enjoyed resting in God's presence. Now, John 14:27. See, I told you, I'm going to keep you guys busy. So this way I know you won't fall asleep. If you got it, just yell it out. Hey, you two back there in the back, look through your Bibles. You guys got 2 Bibles back there.
Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives you, do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Is that
No.
right? Is that the right one?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right, one. Now, that was hard for me to understand, because when these 3 guys came to me and talked to me about what Daniel did, I was shaken all the way down to my sandals as I realized I had to throw him into the pit of the lions. I couldn't sit there and make any excuses. Don't think I didn't try. I thought all day. I looked at every precept we had, every ordinance we had. I tried my best to make it where I could not put Daniel into the pit. I didn't want to. Imagine, he's 80. That's like throwing your grandfather into the pit. It was hard. And one of the things that if I didn't throw him in, then I would have these 3 guys and the rest of my government looking at me, and my people. So I had to decide, Daniel or the government and the people. Which way am I going to go? Unfortunately, I was willing to sacrifice Daniel. But if you look, I believe there's a verse right in there that sits there and says to Daniel, may your living God keep you safe. Now, I also want you to realize, when I threw Daniel in the pit, it's not like we just sort of wheeled him over to the pit and we just open the gate and he walks in. Okay? The pit is down in the ground. And we've got a bunch of lions in there, and a bunch of cats. We don't feed them very much. We just feed them people that I'm not very happy with. So they're always hungry. And when we put Daniel into the pit, to make sure that nobody rescues him, we lay a stone over the pit. And then I sit there and I take my ring and I press it down hard into the wax so that we know that no one opens up the pit. Now, that night, I did not sleep. I wish I could have told you I did, but I did not sleep. I tossed, I turned, I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I didn't want any kind of entertainment. I felt so bad. How could I throw this man in for believing in his God? How could I throw him in for my own mistake? Now if you'll turn to the next one, please. The thing that really got to me was Daniel did not panic. He didn't scream for mercy when we put him into the pit. He didn't say, this is not fair. He did not sit there and try to fight. I mean, even at 80 years old, he could still have kicked us in the shins. He didn't do any of that. He went in there quietly and trusting in the strength of his God. If you'll look at Luke 1, verse 37. You can see how fast you guys are.
Not very fast.
Verse 137.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing will be impossible with God.
Nothing is impossible with God. Now, have you ever thought, because I really thought about this, when I threw him into the pit, I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe God will just sort of pop him back out. He didn't pop him back out. Then I thought, maybe the pit will just sort of open and all my cats will just sort of run out. They didn't run out. And when I went the next morning, and I went early, I usually wake up at 6, I was there at 4. I was early bird. And I was like, Daniel, did your living God save you? And he answered. And he answered me. And the first thing he said was he gave praise to his Lord for saving him. You know the second thing he did, which amazed me? He said, I did no wrong to you, Lord, or to me as his ruler. You know, he could have sat there and said, yo, geezer, why did you throw me in here? I didn't do anything against you. But he didn't do that. He didn't sit there and say, I curse you. He didn't do that. He praised his Lord, and he was gracious with me. And the thing also about those cats, they were still alive. And Daniel said, an angel came and closed their mouths. Now, I don't know about you, but I was wondering, why didn't God kill those cats?
They didn't do anything wrong either.
That's right, they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. And here's the other thing, too. Whenever someone wrongs you, because people are going to wrong you, whenever people want to harm you, whenever people go out of their way to look to do harm to you, don't try to take your own, don't try to take care of it by yourself. But God did. And if you go to the next one, it should, well, I'm a little bit ahead of that. Yeah, there I am on that. Verse 24, trust God to bring justice when an offense occurs. Because when you sit there and try to handle an offense yourself, you're going to sit there and you're going to hurt your relationship with God. But when you let God handle it, and He will, it may not be as fast as you want, it may not be the way you want, but He will. Now, in this one, God used me as Darius to take care of the situation. I was a little ticked. I have to tell you that. I was a whole lot ticked, okay? Because I was ticked because I got played. I was ticked because these guys used the situation in front of all my kingdom to do this. So, I got a little mad and I said, throw those guys into the pits with the lions. And you might as well go ahead and throw the wife and kids there too. I figured, why not clean it all out all at once? I know I was a little angry, okay? I was a little angry. So we threw them all in. Now, here's the other thing that sat there, or that amazes me, was when we threw them in, the lions killed them and tore them apart, even before they hit the ground of the pits. So they could have destroyed Daniel at any time. And yet they didn't. And they were hungry. So don't think that we had fed them. Yeah, they were hungry. And they were ready to eat. Yeah. And that's the way the Lord does. He takes a lot of stuff that occurs around us every day. And He makes the impossible possible. You just got to believe. Now as a result of that, if you'll go to the next slide, the other thing I saw Daniel he kept staying connected with Him in His presence. And I suspect that even when he was down there with those cats, I suspect Daniel's talking to the angel and praising God. And he might even use one of the lions as a pillow and lay down and rest on him. Yeah. But he kept staying connected to God. And he dedicated time to the Lord. And he prayed with the Lord. And he had fellowship with Him. And he had Bible study. And he got with other Jews or Christians who continued to help encourage him in his prayer. God's presence always brings change. Whether it brings change within us or within the other person, it brings change. And if you go to the next one, what happened is as a king, if you look in verses 26 and 27 of chapter 6 in Daniel, I sat there and I acknowledged to Daniel and to my kingdom that Daniel's God is a living God, not a dead God, not like the ones that we all often worship. He is also steadfast. He's reliable. He is trustworthy. He's the one who can be counted on to being there. He's the one who will never let you down. And He endures forever. Because of Daniel's faithfulness, because of the faithfulness of his Lord, he was able to sit there and bring not only continue in his walk, but to bring me as a king to sitting there and having a relationship with God, and for bringing the whole country into where we served His living God and where we worshiped Him. And if you'll get the last one, yeah. Now, Hebrews 11:33. One of the things that also happened is, whenever you get that, just read it out, is that Daniel became a member of the Hall of Faith, for lack of better terms, in Hebrews. Because of his faithfulness and believing in the Lord, for only by faith in such a God could a man have shut the mouth of lions. And you'll see Daniel's name in there. You got it?
Who through faith conquers kingdoms, administers justice, and gains what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions.
Now, last one. So what I pray for you is something that I've had to pray for myself and for our people. That we are courageous enough to openly worship God, even when people are watching. Because there are two things that I noticed with Daniel. Not only were people watching, but God was watching. And then also a heart that trusts when God allows difficulties to come into our life, that He will also equip you with what you need in order to handle the situation. He's not going to put you in a situation that you can't handle. It may feel like it. And you may begin to, I'm sure that there was a time that Daniel was probably sitting there going, those are such sharp teeth. Just keep them in your mouth. Yeah. But God was with him right there. And He equipped him to handle it. He equipped him to be patient and to rest in Him and to get strength from Him. Daniel spoke quite highly to me. And I still made him the second man, highest man in the kingdom. And I also came to know the Lord. So thank you.
Want to say a closing prayer?
Now, I was about to say, I'm going to have one of the guys in the back give the closing prayer.
Well,
Oh, I heard that. Do we get up in the circle?
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, let's do a prayer and a song and then, yeah. Whatever. We can pray and then do a song. Come on, Sue, we'll just pray and then you can do a song for us, all right? Yeah, we're real organized.
Little shocky, huh?
What are you shocked to?
Most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you, Lord, we come home. We thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for life itself. Lord, just be with us, Lord. Lead, guide us, Lord. Take these bodies, Lord, and use them, Lord, as instrument for you. Forgive us, Lord, where we have failed you, made mistakes. Forgive us, Lord, our sins. Bless this church, Lord, and continue to grow each and every day. Be with us, Lord. Just lead, guide us, and help us, Lord, each and every day. And forgive us most of all, Lord, our sins.
All right.
In Jesus' name, I pray.
Amen. Thank you, William.
Our last song.
Good
We do
job,
one more
my
song,
brother.
close it up.
Oh, yeah.
Proud of you.
Next time you just gotta speak quicker.
Do what?
Pass the hat.
I will get it next time.
Doesn't matter which one.
Motorcycle hat.
The motorcycle hat
The motor, Lord is right there.
Lord, no, right there, okay.
The banker's
The
right there.
banker's right there. you go.
Okay. I got it, I have to check. No, you got it?
Whoops, oh, he's gonna.
Gracious, gracious.
I'm trying. All right.
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully trusting in His grace this hour? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood? In the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless, are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you walking daily by the Savior's side? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Do you rest each moment in the crucified? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? in the blood of the Lamb. When the bridegroom cometh, will your robes be white? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Will your soul be ready for the mansions bright? And be washed in the blood of the Lamb. Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Lay aside the garments that are stained with sin, and be washed in the blood of the Lamb. There's a fountain flowing for the soul unclean. Oh, be washed in the blood of the Lamb. Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood, the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Yeehaw! All right. Cool. How's it going? What, like digging this? Oh, you've been doing this?
Is it? Okay.
For what? County, I got my daughter. I got on my pocket.
And all your stuff. Something here about possible arson in Tallahassee.
Oh, yeah.
Deputies investigate possible arson. Sheriff's deputies currently working a possible arson. Happened on Stargate Way in Tallahassee around 10:30 Sunday morning.
What happened?
What happened?
Possible arson in Tallahassee on Stargate Way
Oh, wow.
around 10:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Crews are investigating. We have a reporter on scene and we'll bring you more information.
Why did they do that?
I have no idea.
We got a firebug.
So I had to.
3 dead after vehicle drives into
Busted
Lake
it in about
Taplin.
6 or 7 places, so I figured I'd just replace the whole thing, but whatever.
1:15 a.m. They
Not
told
go
them the
straight.
car traveling at a high rate of speed
So I guess
drove
So
up
what-
co-landing road ramp. Saw several people exiting the car as the car began to sink. Total of 4 people in the car. Witnesses were able to pull one person to safety.
Oh,
I was gonna go out there and go
Seen my
apologize
dog,
for
yeah.
Williams. Williams had to get
Oh, man.
on for volunteering.
So I got it
Bus boy.
3/4 of the way
I bet
back.
he did.
Yeah, as it says,
That's-
it's like in.
that's
St.
true.
Thank you. Well, let me get him real quick.
That's the machine you love so, huh?
Yeah, that thing just.
Police
Then you gotta
shoots
fill in the
knife-wielding man after he
Finding the
threats
ends
to
of
be
that wire
ed
where I
officers.
need to splice in with.
Jacksonville
Is Ray gonna be here next week?
threatened to cut off officers'
Who?
heads.
Rick.
I think so, yeah.
He is?
I think so.
Have you got his
Well,
number?
it's getting crazy,
Sue's
isn't it?
got it. Wherever she went. She was in the bathroom probably.
Okay.
Yeah. She's got it, so. He's probably not gonna use that.
Here's my
Oh, no, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Okay.
Anybody want to go to Milano's?
Sue's, Sue, talk to Ricky about, Robbie about next week.
Is this your bag?
I don't know whose it is, it's not mine.
If you are
They're saying
I've had one.
planning
but
for now,
they
then you have a
never-
message already lined up. Well, no, what it is I'd like to put it out there on the
It's
webpage.
gone, it's gone, it's gone.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, you want to put it in
Thank you for, my shirt.
It's right, it's right here.
Well, yeah, I thought my shirt was gone, but then I was like, I saw
Well,
him,
no,
I
just
just
let us know. Well, Sue's off now.
Susan, she could ask.
She's done working. She's done
Well, Sue's gonna be playing next week too.
Especially in there. Doesn't matter, I am all the time.
I'm not doing anything new, here we go.
Pull you around and you're like,
185
probably pointing up here, pointing down there.
It makes you wonder how done I used to do it, isn't it? You feel like I'm really, it's bad enough.
Have you ever seen the old ones, like in the 40s and the 50s, they're like cones? They're like cones,
Well,
you're
that's what
supposed
I
to
was-
smash or something with these cones.
Well, and that's why I was sitting there wondering with her, remember when she had the one that
Oh, yeah.
just like that, and I said, oh, we got out, but
Yeah,
don't bring it back.
We're not there anymore, thank you. We're done.
We're done. Oh, I
We'll be done with that.
Yeah. The double or triple harder. All right, keep us posted. Well, thank you. Keep us posted and let us know.
You didn't hear anything, huh?
Oh, no, I was just getting Rick's number for next week. Everything's going good.
Everything's going good. Okay, how's Luke doing?
Luke is, that's not going good.
Looks like.
Where is he?
He's at the girlfriend. Luke is irresponsible and unaccountable.
Where is he? He's outstanding.
Have one go to Milan?
Oh, yes.
Well,
Oh,
I
he
need
is.
to get some lumber, finish that.
Are you kicking ass and taking names?
Oh, no.
Or just leave him alone?
Yeah, throw and see.
I don't know if I eat a bunch, I won't.
God works in mysterious ways, and all this made a.
I want to, because I hurt so bad right now.
And I don't know that.
Shot an ad,
Don't know what happened.
Well, we'll miss you.
Or make choices on which ways.
I'll leave that here.
Yeah, what's that?
It's all good, yeah.
Unless.
Oh, I thought we were still talking
Well,
about-
I was gonna say, you know, that's true. It's good that you made, but it's interesting how, like you said, God works in mysterious ways.
But I
Yeah,
feel
we'll
like
see
I've had
inside,
a
it's
deal
inside.
more than that.
Well, that's good.
We're not real good at remembering to do that, you know that? After she was on her last song, almost died.
I'm sorry, Sue. I heard you're off now.
Yes.
All right.
I was gonna say, day 0.
Following the rules back. I mean, Gavin's very set way we do things.
Congratulations.
That's all right.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm letting this thing reboot.
Yeah.
Done for a while,
Okay.
until they call you back.
Might do a
With a
strike or
tempting
something.
offer.
Yeah, they always get tempting.